Hello dear students, this is Vishal sir from Igra High School. Today we'll be concluding second part for chapter 12 from standard 10 NCERT syllabus. Today's topic will be factors on which the resistance of the conductor depend. Let's continue reading our chapter. In this activity 12.3, you will find that there are four conditions applied to test the resistance of any conductor. First, a nichrome wire is taken with the appropriate length. In the second condition, the nichrome wire has double the length than the first. Third, the area of cross section of the same material, that is the nichrome wire, has been doubled. And fourth, the material has been changed. That means you have to take another type of conductor instead of nichrome wire. Let's read the activity for better understanding. Complete an electric circuit consisting of a cell, an ammeter, a nichrome wire of length L, say marked 1, and a plug key as shown in figure 12.5. Now, plug the key. Note the current in the ammeter. Replace the nichrome wire by another nichrome wire of the same thickness but twice the length, that is 2L. Mark 2 in figure 12.5. Note the ammeter reading. Now replace the wire by a thicker nichrome wire of the same length L. A thicker wire has a larger cross section area. Again, note down the current through the circuit. Instead of taking a nichrome wire, connect a copper wire marked 4 in figure 12.5 in the circuit. Let the wire be of the same length and the same area of cross section as that of the first nichrome wire. Note the value of the current. Notice the difference in the current in all the cases. Does the current depend on the length of the conductor? Does the current depend on the area of the cross section of the wire used? So dear students, as we have read the activity, we came to know that we applied four different conditions for testing the resistance of the conductor. The observation would be something like this. It is observed that the ammeter reading decreases to 1/2 when the length of the wire is doubled. The ammeter reading is increased when a thicker wire of the same material and of the same length is used in the circuit. A change in ammeter reading is observed when the wire of different material of the same length and the same area of cross section is used. On applying Ohm's law, we observe that the resistance of the conductor depends on its length, on its area of cross section, and on the nature of its material. Precise measurement have shown that resistance of a uniform metallic conductor is directly proportional to its length and inversely proportional to the area of the cross section. That means the resistance is in direct variation with the length of the conductor. The resistance totally depends on the length of the conductor. If the length is increased, definitely the resistance will increase. But it is inversely proportional to the area of the cross section. That means if the diameter of the wire is increased, the resistance will decrease. Combining the equation, you will find that I varies to L upon A, where you will get rho as a constant of proportionality and will be called the resistivity of the material of the conductor. So your equation will become R is equal to rho L upon A. The SI unit of resistivity is ohm meter. The SI unit of resistance was ohm, while the SI unit of resistivity is ohm meter. It has a characteristic property of the material. The metal and alloy have very low resistivity in the range of 10 raised to -8 to 10 raised to -6 ohm meter. They are good conductor of electricity. So the materials which are good conductor of electricity has low resistivity, and that is between the range of 10 raised to -8 ohm meter to 10 raised to -6 ohm meter. While the insulators like rubber and glass have the resistivity of the order 10 raised to 12 to 10 raised to 17 ohm meter. Both the resistance and the resistivity of the material vary with temperature. Table 12.2 reveals the resistivity of an alloy is generally higher than its constituent metal. So it is to be noted that the alloy from the certain metal has more resistivity than the metal itself, as alloys do not oxidize readily at high temperature. And for this reason, they are commonly used in electrical heating devices like electric iron, toaster, etc. Tungsten is used almost exclusively for the filament of electric bulbs. So traditional electric bulbs that we use to have in our home that gave yellow light had tungsten as the filament. The wire that was tied in that bulb, inside the bulb, was tungsten. Its temperature is more than about 3000 centigrade. Whereas copper and aluminium are generally used for electrical transmission lines because they are good conductor of electricity. They have low resistivity, so more current can be passed through it for lesser loss. Now we have to study about the connections of the resistors. The resistors can be connected in two different ways. One in series and other in parallel. Here you can see R1, R2 and R3 are three different resistors which are connected in a single line. That means from the positive end only the point X is connected with R1. It is not connected with the another point Y. Instead of the other point is connected with R2 point and the R2's second point is connected with R3's first point. While R3's second point is connected with the Y point that is connected to the battery with negative point. This shows the flow of electric current in series. While in the second figure you can see there are three resistors connected in parallel. That means each of them are connected to point X and point Y. So the current flows from all the three in three different paths. Here the current flows in all the three in the same path. So there are two ways to connect the resistors, a series and a parallel. Now let's study about resistor in series. What happened to the value of current when the number of resistors are connected in series in a circuit? What would be their equivalent resistance? That means what would be their total resistance? Let us try to understand with the help of the following activity. Here in activity 12.4, you are given three different resistors with three different resistance. The first resistor is having 1 ohm as the resistance, the second is having 2 ohm as the resistance, and the third resistor is having 3 ohm as the resistor. The battery connected to the circuit is of 6 volt. Then we have to construct a circuit just like this. Here you can see resistance 1 is connected with its own voltmeter. Resistance 2 is also connected with its own voltmeter. So there are 3 voltmeter also to find the voltage distributed for each resistance. You will observe the value of the current in the ammeter is same independent of its position in the electric circuit. That means in a series connection, the value of the current does not change. It remains same. It means that in a series combination of resistance, the current is same in every part of the circuit or the same current flows through each resistor. If here in this diagram, the current is about 2 ampere, 2 ampere current will flow through each resistors. It will not change. It will remain constant. Let's read activity 12.5. In activity 12.4, insert a voltmeter across the ends X and Y of the series combination of three resistors as shown in figure 12.6. Plug the key in the circuit and note the voltmeter reading. It gives the potential difference across the series combination of resistors. Let it be V. Now measure the potential difference across two terminals of the battery. Compare the two values. Take out the plug key and disconnect the voltmeter. Now insert the voltmeter across the ends X and P of the first resistor as shown in figure 12.8. Plug the key and measure the potential difference across the first resistor. Let it be V1. Similarly, measure the potential difference across the other two resistors separately. Let these values be V1, V2 and V3 respectively. Deduce the relation between V, that is the total voltage in the circuit, V1, that will be the voltage across resistor 1, V2, the voltage across resistor 2, and V3, voltage across resistor 3. You will observe that the potential difference V is equal to the sum of the potential differences V1, V2 and V3. That means if this battery has 6 volt potential difference, here each will be distributed and the sum of it would become 6 volt. That is, the total potential difference across the combination of resistor in series is equal to the sum of potential difference across the individual resistor. So, V is equal to V1 plus V2 plus V3. In the electric circuit as shown in figure 12.8, let I be the current through the circuit. The current through each resistor is also I. It is possible to replace the three resistors joined in series by an equivalent single resistor of resistance R, such that the potential difference V across it and the current I through the circuit remains same. Now applying the Ohm's law to the entire circuit, we have V is equal to IR. On applying Ohm's law to the three resistors separately, we further have, that means for resistor 1, the voltage is V1, that will be according to Ohm's law IR1. For resistor 2, the voltage will be V2, so according to Ohm's law it will be IR2. And the same will continue for third resistor, V3 is equal to IR3. Now, the total voltage across the circuit is V is equal to V1 plus V2 plus V3. So, V will become IR according to Ohm's law. For V1, we will be writing IR1, V2 IR2 and V3 IR3. As you can see over here, I is common in all the three resistance. So let's take I common, and that would be deduced from the left hand side, and you will be left with the equivalent resistance in series connection, that is equal to R1 plus R2 plus R3. So if there is a series connection and the total resistance would be the sum of all the resistance across the circuit, we can conclude that when several resistors are joined in series, the resistance of the combination Rs equals to the sum of the resistance R1 plus R2 plus R3 and is thus greater than any individual resistance. So the sum would be greater than any of the resistance. Now the next topic is resistors in parallel. This would be the circuit diagram, schematic circuit diagram of parallel connection. R1, R2 and R3 are connected across point X and Y, and all of them are individually connected to the whole circuit. Now let us consider the arrangement of three resistors joined in parallel with combination of cell as shown in figure 12.7. Activity 12.6. Make a parallel combination XY of three resistors having resistance R1, R2 and R3. Connect it with a battery, a plug key and an ammeter as shown in figure 12.10. Also connect a voltmeter in parallel with a combination of resistors. Plug the key and note the ammeter reading. Let the current be I. Also take the voltmeter reading. It gives the potential difference V across the combination. The potential difference across each resistor is also V. So in parallel connection, the voltage is not distributed or there is no voltage drop. It remains constant throughout the circuit. Here, the current will be distributed in all the three cases. So for resistor 1, the current will be I1. Take out the plug from the key, remove the ammeter and voltmeter from the circuit, insert the ammeter in the series with the resistor R1 as shown in figure 12.11. Note the ammeter reading I1. Similarly, measure the currents through R2 and R3. Let these be I2 and I3 respectively. So what is the relationship between the total current and the current across each resistors? It is observed that the total current I is equal to the sum of the separate current through each branch of the combination. So it will be I is equal to I1 plus I2 plus I3. Let Rp, that is the equivalent resistance across the parallel series, be the equivalent resistance of the parallel combination of resistor, and by applying Ohm's law for each equation, I is equal to V upon Rp. So I1 is equal to V upon R1, I2 is equal to V upon R2 and I3 is equal to V upon R3. From equation 12.15 to 12.17, we have V upon Rp is equal to V upon R1 plus V upon R2 and plus V upon R3. That means the voltage will remain constant and the current will be distributed. So voltage will be common and it will be reduced from left hand side. So we will be left with the equation 1 upon Rp is equal to 1 upon R1 plus 1 upon R2 plus 1 upon R3. This is the equivalent resistance for parallel connection. Thus, we may conclude that the reciprocal of the equivalent resistance of a group of resistance joined in parallel is equal to the sum of reciprocal of individual resistance. So, in series, it was simply the sum of the resistance, but in parallel, it is the sum of the reciprocal of the resistance. And these are the conclusions for series and parallel connection, as it looks something like this. In series connection, the current always remains same in the series. That means the current is constant while it is distributed according to the resistors in a parallel connection. While the voltage is distributed in series connection according to the given resistors and it remains constant in parallel series. The equivalent resistance in series connection would be for 3 resistors R1 plus R2 plus R3, that is the sum of all the resistors. While in parallel it would be the sum of the reciprocal of all the resistors. Now let's study the heating effect of electric current. As you know children, for all our electrical appliances that we use, there is certain heat produced by the appliance. Even your mobile charger, while charging the mobile, produces heat, though it is consuming very least amount of electrical energy. So from where does this heat come from? That we will see in this. We know that a battery or a cell is a source of electrical energy. The chemical reaction within the cell generates the potential difference between its two terminals that sets the electrode in motion to flow the current through a resistor or a system of resistors connected to the battery. We have also seen in section 12.2 that to maintain the current, the source has to keep expanding its energy. Where does this energy go? A part of the source of energy in maintaining the current may be consumed into useful work, that is like rotating the blade of the electric fan, the lightning, the luminosity of the tube light or the bulb, and so many things that is used that we utilize from electrical energy. But all the energy that is given to the appliance is being used. Rest of the source of energy may be expanded in heat to raise the temperature of the gadget. Most of the energy is utilized for operating our appliances, but some of its energy is used up in expanding the heat to raise the temperature of the gadget. We often observe this in our everyday life. For example, an electric fan becomes warm if used continuously for longer time. On the other hand, if electric circuit is purely resistive, that is a configuration of resistor only connected to battery, the source energy continually gets dissipated entirely in the form of heat. This is known as the heating effect of electric current. This effect is utilized in devices such as electric heater, iron, etc. So we have specially developed some appliances to generate heat, and that appliances have a configuration of resistor which only produces resistance to produce heat. Consider the current I flowing through a resistors of the resistance. Now let's measure what amount of heat is produced by the appliance. It will be something like this. Consider a current I flowing through the resistors of the resistance R. Let the potential difference across it be V. Let T be the time during which the charge Q flows across. The work done in moving the charge Q through potential difference V is VQ. That means the work done will be equal to voltage into the charge that it consumes by the potential difference. Therefore, the source must supply equal energy to VQ in time t. Let's say for some time t, the potential difference V consumed Q charge across the given conductor. Hence, the power input to the circuit will be P is equal to V Q upon T. Q upon T is none other than the formula for current. So, it will become P is equal to VI. That means the power consumed by the electrical appliance is equal to voltage into current. On the energy supplied to the circuit by the source in time t, it will be P into T. That means V into I into T. We have to note the amount of time for the appliance used. What happens to this energy expended by the source? This energy gets dissipated in the resistor as heat. So this energy is nothing else than the loss of electric current from that appliance. The heat energy produced by the appliance is the loss or dissipated heat from the appliance that we utilize. Thus, for a steady current I, the amount of heat produced in time t is H is equal to V into I into T. This will be calculated, the power consumed will be calculated as the heat produced, and that will become V into I into T. Now let's apply Ohm's law to it. That means for V, we will write IR. So it was V into I into T, that became I square RT. This is known as Joule's law of heating, and it implies two main things. First, it is directly proportional to the square of the current for a given resistance. Second, directly proportional to the resistance for a given current. The third is related with time, so it will be relative. The direction proportion of the time for which the current flows through the resistors. In practical situation, when an electrical appliance is connected to a known voltage source, is used after calculating the current through it using the relation I is equal to V upon R. Now, for practical application of heating effect of electric current, we use electrical toaster, oven, kettle and heater. That is based on Joule's heating. H is equal to I square RT. The electric heating is also used to produce light as in electric bulb. The traditional yellow electric bulb, which had some filament inside it with some gases filled in it, was prepared in such a way the more amount of heat it produced, the more amount of light it produced. So the light dependent on the heat that the filament produced. The filament must retain as much as of the heat generated as possible so that it gets very hot and emits light. It must not melt at such high temperature. So therefore, it was a strong metal called tungsten was used for making bulb filament. Another application of Joule's heat is the fuse. So this is the second application where we use Joule's heating. We apply the fuse wire with proper gauge so that it fuses as soon as the more amount of energy is consumed by our electrical appliances. It protects the circuit and appliance by stopping the flow of unduly high electric charge. Fuse is placed in series. So in the whole connection in our home, the fuse is the only part in our electrical system that is connected in series, while all the other systems are connected in parallel. It consists of a piece of wire made of metal or alloy of appropriate melting point. So here we need the wire with low melting point, so it can melt easily, while in the case of bulb we need a metal with a high melting point, so it can generate lot of heat to produce more light. The metals used in fuse may be aluminium, copper, iron, lead, etc. The current larger than the specified value flows through circuit and the temperature of the fuse wire increases. This melts the fuse wire and breaks the circuit. Now, the last topic for this section is electric power. It is the electric current consumed by our home. So, how can you measure the electricity consumed in our home? That will be said according to power. You have studied in your earlier class that the rate of doing work is power. This is also the rate of consumption of energy. Equation 12.21 gives the rate at which electrical energy is dissipated or consumed in electric circuit. This is also termed as electric power. Power P is given by P is equal to VI, that is voltage into current, or you can say I square R or V square upon R. The SI unit of electric power is watt. That is the unit of electric power in the memory of James Watt. It is the power consumed by a device that carries 1 ampere of current when operated at a potential difference of 1 volt. So what is the definition of watt? It is the power consumed by the device that carries 1 ampere of current when operated at a potential difference of 1 volt. So 1 watt is equal to 1 volt into 1 ampere, 1 VA. The unit watt is very small, therefore in actual practice we use a much larger unit called kilowatt. It is equal to 1000 watts. Since electrical energy is the product of power and time, the unit of electric energy is therefore watt hour. 1 watt hour is the energy consumed when 1 watt of power is used for 1 hour. The commercial unit of electric energy is kilowatt hour, kWh. So the watt our electrical appliances consume in our home is of the small quantity, but we run our appliances throughout the day or the whole day or 24/7 it keeps on running. Just for take the example, the refrigerator, once it is turned on, it is never turned off. It keeps on running till some rectification or the changing of the refrigerator is done. Otherwise it runs continuously without any problem. So the unit of watt would be very small and the value that you will get in watt would be huge. So to minimize and understand the value properly, we use a larger unit called kilowatt hour. That is equal to 1000 watt into 3600 seconds, and it will be converted into 3.6 into 10 raised to 6 joules. So that is the one unit used in our home, and that is the reading that we get while we receive our meter bill. Thank you, children.